Miami blows out Florida State 36-14. They cover barely, 21-point spread.
Big.
I'm not sure, okay, I'll say this. I'm glad to see Miami actually blow out a team that they should blow out, right? Because Miami's had way too many close games. They handled their business the second half. They were really dominant, especially defensively. And they ran the ball. Like, they didn't need Cam Ward to do too much. His numbers aren't going to wow you. He did have the touchdown reception, which was a pretty cool play. But Miami ran it for 230 yards on 40 carries. Martinez was just a monster. Like, they just kind of handled their business. Almost a boring game. But if you're Miami, you wanted a boring game because your games have been too interesting, to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your favorite part of the game? Did you have anything, like anything that you kind of said already?
Probably the Cam Ward reception, that play. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Why?
It was sick.
Why are you
Really
asking me that?
Well, my favorite play was that it didn't come down to going to Charlotte.
Oh, 2A play.
Being something. I'm just glad that didn't happen. I'm so happy. It was a stretch there where I was getting a little exhausted, but no, I'm joking. Favorite play, I think honestly, Damian Martinez 50-yard run was just nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, he is so good. And, really, we hadn't needed to see him. And there have been a couple of games, KG, where I'm just like, this is a game Miami's going to ground and pound the rock. And they haven't. And so it was kind of like, can they? And I know that, you look at, I can't remember which game it was, but they couldn't run it early, but yet they finished with 200 yards. And I was like, kind of inflated stats. Like, I get it. I still don't know if they have to, can they? And it felt like that answered my question here. Like, and I've said this a ton too, like balance to me, KG, and we always bring this up. It isn't throwing the ball 30 times, running it 30 times. Balance is if a team is good at something, or if they're trying to take something away, you have the ability to counter. AKA Florida State is third in the country or third in the conference in pass defense. Like I told you, they ran the ball for 230. Like that's just what it is, and having that ability, very impressive. Again, Cam made some special plays. You always want him to do more. And, it's going to be interesting Heisman stuff. Like one game matters. Not throwing a touchdown matters. It's going to come down to some special stuff. But other Heisman hopefuls didn't have their greatest days either. Now, Travis Hunter and Shedeur did. They look great. They had a big game and a massive win, and they're going bowling. So it's going to be interesting how all that plays out. But Miami is rolling. They look fantastic. You look at the rest of the schedule, super manageable. I mean, I think this next game versus Duke, to me, is the only potential, I don't even want to say stumbling block, the only potential, game you're looking at. I was like, okay, we just saw this defense play really well. What does that translate to? Or is Duke going to be deflated after not winning that game? Other than that, I see these guys just cruising the rest of the way until Charlotte. It's going to be fascinating.
Two things. I'm actually going to say my favorite play was the Croman Hoke play, the backup Florida State quarterback, where he, I thought he was down. He was just in the scrum, and then he just emerges out of nowhere. That was a crazy play. I feel like you probably go with him moving forward if you're Florida State, but that's not really the point of this discussion. I'll add this though, Mac. Sneaky. Could this game be a little more interesting if Haynes King is back? Now, that's the big question.
Right.
Miami at Georgia Tech. What is that, November 9th? Considering what happened last year, and considering Georgia Tech is a pretty good team when Haynes King is healthy. That may be your most questionable game left on the schedule.
Well, yes, and kind of why I didn't say that is exactly what you just said. I don't know if Haynes is playing. They're a completely different team. Completely different team without him. And, if he's not available, probably not. And I will say their quarterback looked good. That number 3 guy, the young freshman, Philo.
Yes.
He can sling
I liked
it.
him.
That's Coach Rick's boy. He looked good. So we'll see.
I'm going to bring him up when we talk about Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, because I kind of thought they should have gone to him earlier. But I don't know. I'm not an expert. Miami did jump up to number 5, which I like. Getting some credit for blowing out Florida State, and they continue to be very much in the driver's seat. Let's end the Miami discussion with this. I love the Cristobal's quotes after the game where he's saying, state champs, et cetera, but he's like naming every other program. And he's like, hey, we run this state. If you're in Florida, you got to come here. I thought he's been waiting a while to say that, Mac. You could tell.
I mean, he's looking dead into the camera and says, you see the trajectory of these other programs, you see the trajectory of ours. and then walks off. And I'm just like,
Right.
yep,
Always
let's do it.
recruiting.
Let's make it happen. And hey, there's something to it. And I mean, every
Yeah.
time that, I've had interactions with him or I've seen him, leading forward or leading into this season, he's like, we got to keep doing it the right way. We have to keep building. We have to do this. Like, never satisfied. And he's not going to be after this. I mean, we'll see what Miami does the rest of the year. But when I see him the next time out of season, in the off season, that's still what he's going to say. He's like, oh, we got to do this. It's just how he always is. Never off.
Even if they win the Natty?
Always on. It's what's next. Cam Ward's gone. It's on to the next. Who's the quarterback?
Got to win another one.
You got to go get somebody else. So that's just how he's wired. He is literally – it's what he does. This is his life.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Way back when we said Miami isn't how did we phrase this? Miami isn't everything or whatever I said. It's the only thing. Like this is it for him. He loves this. He's obsessed with it. And he wants to get it back to when he was playing, the way that it was. And so I love the way that they've done it. It's been really fun to watch. And I think there is a collision course brewing, and I can't wait to see it.